You ever see one of those massive suspension bridges or a giant dam and just think to yourself, how in the world do they even build that stuff? Not just the physical part, but how do you get thousands of people from different companies, maybe even different countries, all on the same page without the whole thing just falling into chaos? Well, the answer is in this powerful but kinda hidden rulebook. Yep, behind pretty much every major international engineering project, there's a contract that is the absolute law of the land. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the most important one out there, the FIDIC Red Book. So, let's dive in and see how this one document brings order to the massive chaos of global construction.
All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to cover what this rulebook actually is. We'll meet the key players that it sets up, we'll look at the official rules of the game, see how it handles things when they go sideways, walk through what it takes to actually finish a project, and finally, what happens when people just can't agree. Okay, so let's get into it. What is this thing, really? The FIDIC Red Book is basically the gold standard for big civil engineering projects all over the world. You gotta remember, you're dealing with different laws, different languages, different ways of doing business. This contract is the common ground that makes it all work, bringing clarity and fairness to some of the most ambitious projects on the planet.
FIDI. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. It stands for the International Federation of Consulting Engineers. For decades, these guys have been writing standard contracts that create a shared language. It means a contractor from, say, Japan and a client in Brazil can look at the same document and know exactly what their rights and responsibilities are. They start on the same page.
So to really get how this rulebook works, you first need to meet the main characters. Honestly, the best way to think about a huge project is like a high-stakes team sport. And the contract clearly defines the three most important roles on the field.
First up, you have the employer. Now, this isn't who you work for. It's the client, the one with the big idea and, most importantly, the money. In our sports analogy, this is the team owner. They're the one who wants the stadium or the dam or the bridge built in the first place.
Next, there's the contractor. This one's pretty simple. They are the builders, the organization that won the job and is responsible for turning all those blueprints into a real thing. They're the team captain, the players on the field doing the actual work. And finally, we have the most unique and, honestly, powerful role, the engineer. Now listen up, because in the FIDIC world, this isn't just the designer, this person is the official referee. And here's the genius part. Even though they're hired and paid by the employer, the team owner, the contract legally requires them to act impartially. Their loyalty isn't to the person signing the checks, it's to the rulebook itself. It's all about fair play.
All right, so we've got our players. Now the rulebook lays out the actual game plan. And you can imagine, a project like this has a literal mountain of paperwork, drawings, plans, agreements. So what happens if two of those documents say completely different things?
Well, FIDIC has this simple, really elegant solution, a strict pecking order for all the documents. Think of it like a chain of command. The main contract agreement is king. It sits at the very top. Right below that is the letter of acceptance, then the contractor's original bid, and so on down the line. So if something in a drawing contradicts the main agreement, you just consult the list. The agreement wins. Boom! It shuts down arguments before they can even start. It's brilliant.
But let's be real. No massive project goes exactly according to plan. I mean, stuff happens, right? You might hit a giant chunk of granite you weren't expecting. A global pandemic could mess up supply chains, or a war could break out. A good rulebook has to have a plan for the unexpected.
So the multi-million-dollar question is, who pays when these things happen? Who's on the hook for the risk?
And this is where the contract really shines, because it doesn't leave it up for debate. It literally defines something called employer's risks. These are the huge, totally out-of-your-control events, like a war, a riot, or a truly unforeseeable act of nature. If those things happen, the employer bears the financial hit. On the other side, the contractor is responsible for everything in their wheelhouse, the quality of their work, keeping the site safe, and any ground conditions they should have reasonably expected. It's a clean, logical split.
So, the project is finally built. We're done, right? Well, not so fast. Finished is actually a very specific term in the Red Book. It's not just one moment, it's a whole process. It all kicks off with the official start date. Then, once the work is pretty much done, the engineer issues a taking over certificate. That's when the employer can finally start using their new bridge or building. But, and this is a big but, it's not over. That starts the clock on the defects liability period. Think of it like a warranty, usually for a year. The contractor is on the hook to come back and fix any cracks or leaks that show up. It's how you guarantee quality. Only after that period ends successfully does the engineer issue the final payment certificate, and the project is officially financially closed.
Of course, even with the best rulebook in the world, people are going to disagree. It just happens. What makes the FIDIC contract so solid is that it has a plan for that too. A built-in way to solve problems without having to lawyer up right away.
It's a three-step ladder. First, any dispute goes to our impartial referee, the engineer, who makes a formal decision. Now, if either side doesn't like that call, they can challenge it. That triggers step 2, a 56-day window where they have to sit down and try to work it out themselves to reach an amicable settlement. The contract forces them to talk first, and only if that fails does it escalate to the final step, formal arbitration, which is basically a private, binding court case.
And that arbitration, it has some serious power. Just listen to this direct quote from the contract. It says the arbitrator has the full power to open up, review, and revise any decision the engineer made. That's huge. It's the ultimate safety net. It means even the ref's calls can be overturned by a higher authority. That gives both sides enormous confidence that the final outcome will be genuinely fair.
So, we started off asking how these incredible projects get built without everything falling apart. And the answer isn't just in the steel or the concrete. It's in this invisible rulebook, a carefully designed operating system built on process, trust, and fairness. It's the shared language that lets people from all over the world build things that will outlast all of us. So the next time you see a skyscraper, are you just going to see a building? Or are you going to see the invisible rulebook that made it all possible?